Thank you, Jonathan. All right, the next speaker I will introduce in English again. I keep switching. But David Norris is the creative strategy lead at Snapchat. He's joining us from London. And I hope you've all tried the NextM filter on Snapchat. If you did the face lens or if you walked around the program in virtual reality, because David will be very happy to hear that. He's going to talk to us about how the camera future looks like for camera natives and how you actually use camera marketing for this generation that is used to filming themselves, doing everything on their camera, and that are mainly focused on themselves and not on you guys or your brands. So give a big round of applause to David Norris. Thank you.
Hey guys, not sure who was in the last session, but there's obviously a lot of yellow themed things going on. We had the banana, now I'm here with a ghost and a yellow background. So thank you for the round of applause. This is me, so I'm David, I lead creative strategy at Snapchat, which means I get to do this most of the time. Right, playing with augmented reality, it's super fun, right? It's what you can do, it's great, you can put cucumbers on your eyes and stuff. But what I'm here to talk to you about is something really, really important. Right? And what I'm going to talk to you about that's really important isn't these guys, right? It's not the fact you can have a dancing hot dog that does this funny little dance and spins around on its head, but actually something kind of much more fundamental than that, and something that each and every one of you in this room have in the palm of your hand, right? You have the camera. The camera is something that is fundamental to how people are now communicating, connecting, sharing. It's how they experience their lives. And for Snapchat, Snap's been around for 8 years, and this is what it used to look like way back in the day. So Snap has always been built around the camera. So if you think about it, like right now, if I was to try and express to my wife like where I am and what I'm doing, she gets a bit freaked out about me being on stage. But to kind of write a message of where I am in Eindhoven, I'm here, and there's loads of people that aren't sitting in the sun, which is great. It's quite hard to express, but to actually snap that in a picture and share it with her, she will get it, she will understand it, and it's actually the fastest way for anyone to communicate. Now, Snap as a platform has obviously evolved over the past 8 years. This is what it looks like today. So still front and center is the camera. It always has and it always will open to the camera, which if you think about that versus other available platforms is a bit different. But then when you think about the structure of the app, on this side you have the chat, the one-to-one and the group chat communication that's going on. And on this side of the app, which is exploding, is our kind of discover side, which is full of the kind of the content that's kind of built and bespoke for Snapchat. And I'm sure you all read about our redesign and our redesign of our redesign. And that's because we tried to muck around with this structure. But our community let us know that that wasn't right. So actually this is now how it is and how it will stay. So always open to the camera. Now, what's interesting is like the potential and power of the camera is unbelievable. Like the things you can do in there, obviously I showed you the AR pieces, I'm going to show you a few bits of work and other examples in a minute, but the power of the camera is incredible. But for us, we're more interested really in the behavior. So what's the behavior of the consumers? How are people using the camera to kind of determine how best we can evolve our own product? Now, one of the things that we've had within the app for a while has been the temperature filter, right? Super simple thing. You take a snap, you swipe on, boom, there's your temperature. But what we realized was that Snapchatters were doing that, which is great. They're in the app, that's good. They're taking a snap, that's good. They're playing with the filter, that's good. But then after they got to this guy, the temperature filter, they then not only killed the snap, didn't post it, share it, save it, they left the app. So for us, we're like, that's really bad. We don't want people leaving the app. That must hate that temperature filter. So let's get rid of it. But then what we realized was actually Snapchatters were taking a snap of the floor, of their armpit, of the ceiling, or whatever. They were just using the camera to check the weather, right? They weren't going to weather.com, they weren't going to whatever. They were just using the camera as their way of determining the weather, which is pretty mind-blowing, right? So we changed it so now when you tap on it, it gives you if it builds, it will give you the 3-day forecast or the 5-hour forecast, just to kind of help improve that experience of understanding the weather. And obviously, it's pretty cool, right? Pretty cool if that's where we go. Now, that's obviously fundamental to a piece of info and data that we had on our users on the platform. But when you think about it on a much bigger level, the camera is a much more powerful, potent tool than ever, right? If you think about the amount that people are using them and the amount of content they're capturing, it's just exponentially increasing because we've never had like a brilliant camera in our pocket everywhere, every moment of the day. But that's kind of causing this overall shift in communication. So millennials are now more and more and more talking with pictures. That's how they're communicating with their best friends. And then if you think about it from a tech point of view, like obviously you're about to step into 5G and that's going to be really cool and exciting. But like the hardware's getting better, the software's getting better, and the connectivity's getting better. So the behaviors aren't going to change. So the camera is becoming more and more and more powerful and potent to the way of life, really. Now, I'm sure there's lots of people in this room who work in social media, right? That's probably a job title a lot of people in the room have. 12 years ago-ish, that probably didn't even exist as a like, term. And like we fundamentally believe that if the last 10 years have been about social media marketing, the next 10 years and the brands and agencies that are going to win are going to be the ones that realize the power of the camera and the need for the camera to be part of your comms plan. But kind of camera marketing as a term doesn't really exist. So to kind of help you understand what we kind of mean by that, I'm just going to play you this.
Would I do shopping like this again? Yes, definitely. Yeah, it's a whole new experience, and I would love to.
You don't see the PR. So like an amazing example of kind of how a brand can actually adopt and implement a kind of camera strategy within their communications and creating a bespoke experience. Now the reason that AR we think is really compelling and interesting, anyone from Mindshare in the room? Yeah, hi guys. So Mindshare Futures did a piece of research actually about the impact of an AR task and like asked people to perform a task in normal real life and a task in AR. And actually the engagement, that's the red brain, was about 40% better. So like, if you're actually creating an experience, it's so much different than just hoping someone's watched your ad. You know they've played with it. It's just a different kind of ball game. So what I'm going to spend the next 12 minutes, 21 seconds talking you through is 5 kind of things to think about in terms of what the camera could do for you and how you could use it. So one is obviously the ability to bring you to life. So if you take Lego as one example there, obviously they created the AR store. What was super cool there was they actually bought a load of Lego and built it piece by piece and then translated it into the AR studio, which is really cool. So like, yes, you can create spaces and environments and worlds that people step into. It can also kind of bring you to life if you're a character or an athlete in this case, or you know, the ability to take that asset and bring it to life in kind of photorealistic 3D that floats around and moves like Jordan moves. Through to kind of your product, right? Super, you know, everyone loves products. That's what keeps the world going round, bananas included. And kind of here, like the example here of like a Domino's pizza, it's an AR pizza that you kind of can open and see, and it's kind of weird, right? But it kind of works in terms of an engagement piece. So like AR can absolutely bring it to life, and it's just thinking about the different ways that it can. You know, it could be that you've got actually kind of an experience you want to create, like this Fanta portal for Halloween, which is a bit spooky, where you step inside and you have to have 3 scares before you can escape. But it could be that you've got a proposition or a sponsorship. after the spider. You don't want to see number 3. But like whatever it is you've got, you can bring it to life. And like it's just an open door to kind of what you create in that experience. In that case, the spider's there on the floor, but you actually have to walk towards it for it to actually have that reaction and jump out at you. The other thing you can do, obviously, is kind of tell a story. So AR is like a platform you think of in terms of like, oh, that's cool. That's a wicked thing that we did. But actually, there's the ability now to tell stories, to create experiences and narratives that Snapchatters want to play with and engage and be part of. So in this case, we worked with 3Mobile in the UK to launch a campaign called Pugafly. Basically, there was a deal where it was 0 rated, so it's free to snap on 3, which is pretty hard to say. And to bring that to life, Wine and Kennedy did the creative work, and they came up with the Pugafly. The strategic insight, and there's a 50-page deck on this, is that people on Snapchat are social butterflies, and everyone loves pugs. So they created the Pugafly, half pug, half butterfly, right? So we obviously created this guy in AR, which is super cool. And then we just had some fun with him. So anyone remember the Tamagotchi? Am I showing my age a little bit? Yeah, that shit little plastic thing that was really addicted, and you'd like feed it, and you'd have to clean up after it and take it to the toilet and stuff. We were like, well, why don't we actually try and reinvent that and create that in AR? So we created 7 consecutive AR lenses where you basically trained your own little Pugafly. So it could be you were training him to play catch. There he goes. Where here we kind of built in this dynamic loop where it would randomize whether it smashed him in the face or whether he'd actually catch it and then noodle it back to you. And then as like the Pugafly grew up and got bigger, there were then things like, oh, we should probably help teach him to fly. So in this case, oh, come on. There he goes. And again, here, the proximity trigger's there, so you actually have to walk towards the AR Pugafly to get him to walk, and then get him to flap, and then get him to fly. Oh, happy memories. And then, yeah, he does a little rainbow wee, just the little touches. Then what we thought, because these were 7 consecutive things, and we're trying to tell a story, so then when it hit 10:30 p.m. at night, we did something which we hadn't done before at that time, which we basically switched him off and just put this little version of him where he'd be asleep. And again, do a little rainbow fart. Everyone loves a rainbow fart. But like the point there being like, come back tomorrow. Like there's a story that's kind of unfolding as the Pugafly's growing up, as you're investing the time playing with him, he's growing up, and you're having that narrative and experience with him, which is super fun. Third, brand and performance. So again, AR is often looked at as being this like fluffy thing. It's like, yeah, it's really fluffy and it's cool because you've created a Pugafly and that's what it is. But actually there's a huge opportunity to use it from a performance point of view. So if I play the Domino's example again, the bit to notice is that order now button that's part of that experience. So yes, you can have that amazing moment of kind of playing with a pizza in your kitchen, but then obviously that's going to make you then want to have a pizza. So the ability to tap on it, launch straight into their .com experience, and boom, you've kind of ordered yourself a pizza. Like, then you kind of get on, and this one was a bit more of a creative challenge because Ryan Reynolds was really particular about his crotch. But creating Deadpool that's dancing, that's cool. That's really cool. Then tapping on the button to buy a cinema ticket, that's cool. Actually showing you the cinema you were physically stood closest to, that's really cool. That you can kind of get to that point of kind of relevance to kind of get someone to go and actually see the movie off the back of playing with the AR experience. Fourth up is kind of the thought, again, like AI is like, oh, it's like a secret weapon, you can't do it, it's really hard, it's really complex. Actually, we launched Lens Studio. So Lens Studios are free to download, everyone in this room should download it and have a play. It's super, 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 super simple. And anyone can make a Snapchat lens. And you can do it in a few minutes. It's full of these like templates that are dead easy to use. They're coded stuff like edit me, replace me. It's like super simple to kind of do and play. So go and have a look at that. But it's also spawning a kind of new kind of generation really of creators, of influencers, like camera influencers, people that are there playing and creating with the camera as much as they are kind of thinking about like, oh, what's my YouTube video? Like the ability and recognition from the creative community of the power of the camera and the importance of it for creatives. And then the fifth up, a fairly bold claim, but around like the future being here. So this might freak you out a little bit, this next one. This went live the other week. This is basically called like a real-time lens. It's a bit weird to work out. But it's basically like lenses are usually where you stick something on someone's face. This, I know it's hard to believe, is me in every single one. But basically this is dynamically adapting what it's seeing as I move my face around, whether it's showing me as the female me, the really male me, or the baby me. But like the reaction that the community had with this in terms of what it's able to do and how it's able to perform is incredible. But we're also kind of pushing the boundaries in terms of actually not just recognizing human faces, but also now the ability for the camera to determine and recognize a cat or a dog and serve an experience against them. It's just like, you know, where we're going to get to and the way it is. And then we're at a point of like, not just what the camera's capturing, but the camera understanding what it's seeing and serving something contextual against that. So in this case, GIFs, because it knows you're looking at flowers. So it's going to serve you some GIFs about flowers. Even to this kind of point where, you know, you can actually press the Snapchat camera and look at a maths problem, and it will give you the answer. I mean, if I had this at school, it would have been bloody incredible. But like the way it's understanding, okay, this is what I'm looking at, and this is the experience that we need to kind of serve and create. It's just getting smarter and smarter all the time. And then we can also do stuff like this.
What's your name, man? Alexander Hamilton. My name is Alexander Hamilton. And there's a million things I haven't done. But just you wait, just you wait.
So like actually making money talk, which is pretty cool. Sorry, terrible gag. And then we're also kind of, there's this thought around AR of like, wouldn't it be cool if there was this like digital skin around the world? And actually we've started playing and experimenting. Is that stop working? Oh. Oh, no, don't want to give the dragon away. Playing and experimenting with buildings. So there are certain buildings around the world that we have digitally mapped based on Snapchatter's snaps. And that's letting us now create experiences like this one, which we'll hopefully play now, that you're looking at the Eiffel Tower, and wherever you are in proximity to the Eiffel Tower, whichever angle you're looking at, the experience will render perfectly depending on where you are. Like, super cool. And like, it's something that I think we're looking at how we can roll this out, how we can kind of do more locations. And then kind of gave it away a little bit, but like the talk around camera marketing, about it being a thing, about the future being here, about all this, oh, it's cool, all this tech. Like, what does that mean in our world, right? In the world where we work with brands, where we work with agencies, where we're trying to create amazing connections with consumers. Now, Game of Thrones, in case the Dragon Eye didn't give it away, Game of Thrones is a really weird thing, right? Game of Thrones is something that people actively don't want to hear about because they don't want to know who's going to be on the Iron Throne or who's going to die or whatever. They actively reject it. But then working with HBO, we thought maybe there were some things we could do differently.
The final season of Game of Thrones signaled the end of an era. It was perhaps the last time a live TV audience would tune in together at scale. To promote this event, HBO set a North Star. The world stops for Game of Thrones. Our story begins at South by Southwest. HBO and Snapchat teamed up to bring their Bleed for the Throne activation to life in the hands of their fans. AR technology, triggered by real-world maps, pins, and banners, drove fans to stop and explore Westeros more deeply, spending up to an extra 86 seconds at each hotspot. As premiere day neared, the ambition grew. Could they bring Westeros to the middle of a real, major city? First, they built the iconic dragon Viserion in AR, in hair-raising detail. Second, they brought Viserion to the city in a way that had never been done before. Snapchat used computer vision to train its camera on New York's Flatiron Building. They sourced public snaps to construct a 3D model, learning its geometry with pinpoint precision. With that, Viserion descended on Manhattan. Passers-by froze in the winter of Westeros for over a minute on average, in the middle of Broadway, and nearly 1 in 4 shared it with a friend. The internet and media caught fire.
Undead ice dragon, landmarker lens.
In response to demand, the horizon widened. With the help of sky mapping tech, dragons took flight around the world. This lens reached 23.6 million users in 11 global markets, more fans than the record-breaking number that watched the premiere. All in all, users spent 14 and a half years playing with the dragons of Westeros and flying them through the skies. This collaboration opened a new creative frontier, fusing branding and fantasy with physical space. It stopped cities in their tracks and charted a new course for AR marketing, where the future is an open book.
So look, in last slide, and I've got 36 seconds left. I'm remarkably on time. Just some like simple points, right? It's just thinking about the power and the fact that kind of camera marketing is here. The behavior is there from consumers, and it's the opportunity for people to kind of adopt it and approach it and attack it. AR as a format isn't just this fluffy piece. Like AR can absolutely drive big brand storytelling, but also drive kind of business effects. And then it's just never been more accessible, right? It's never been easier for anyone to kind of access, create, and distribute AR experiences and the kind of power of camera marketing. So thank you very much. I've never presented with smoke screens, which has been pretty cool. Enjoy the rest of the afternoon.
Thank you, David. Oké, we hebben hier nu nog 1 break van 20 minuten. Dan kunnen jullie weer lekker allemaal naar buiten. Staat er een ijskoude verrassing voor jullie klaar. En dan zie ik jullie graag hier weer terug. Tot zometeen. Doeg!